Hello and a Happy New Year to you all. Welcome to 2012 and hope you all had a good Christmas. Now before I go on to look at what happened at the tail end of the year, perhaps just a brief recap of 2011. Well, the market generally stayed about the same as it was in 2010, so I suppose good news is it didn't get any worse. Sales held steady throughout the year at about 8 per branch per month. The one thing we did tend to see was a drop-off of the number of properties available, so we'll see what the figures look like in a minute. So overall, the year could have been a lot worse, dominated by the problem of getting loans, and I'm afraid I don't think that's going to get any easier in 2012. So, in December, normally people shut up shop. They don't look at properties, they go out on their Christmas shopping and buying those last minute presents. So what actually happened? Well, interestingly, if you look at the graph behind me now, it's something strange because we actually registered an increase in the number of applicants per branch per month. That jumped from November at 262 right up to 294 in December. Now that actually was one of the highest ones of the year, just beaten by one other month. So there's something strange happening out there. People certainly weren't not bothering. They were getting in there, they were looking at properties. So we've seen there was an increase in applicants. So you'd assume that that would jump into an increase in sales month on month. Now, if you look at the figures behind me now, that actually didn't quite happen. The sales per branch per month dropped from 6 in November to 5 in December. And that's against an average of roughly 8 per month during 2011. Now, that's not a disaster because it could actually have been a lot lower and was certainly higher than this time last year at 4 per branch. So the market has not dropped through the floor. The interesting thing will be to see now, of course, as to whether that increased activity in applicants feeds through in the new year. The percentage of first-time buyers is a very important statistic that we always look at. And the graph now behind me shows the percentage of sales to those first-time buyers throughout the year. You'll see that actually went up from 19% to 21% in December. So an encouraging increase there, but first-time buyers, without a doubt, still finding it very difficult to get that loan. So that's one of the problems. But again, we'll come back to that particular bit. The final graph behind shows the number of properties available. And probably out of all of the graphs that I'm showing you today, this is the most worrying, because it shows the graph having dropped from 65 in number in November to 62 in December. Now that actually, as you can see, is the lowest level of any month last year. And in fact, let's look this up, but I think that's the lowest for a long, long time. That in itself is a worry because for various reasons, people are reluctant to put their properties on the market. That means for those who are looking, there's a bit of a supply problem there. Now, will that actually mean that prices will hold up in some areas? I think the answer to that is yes. Where there is that shortage of property, then certainly I think prices will not drop. So looking forward to 2012, we'll have to see, as I say, if those applicants that increased in December follow through to the sales in January. The early indications are that actually in a number of areas of the country, sales look quite promising for early January. So we'll see when we get to the month end. The poor old first-time buyer is going to continue to have a problem because of this lending. I don't think lending is going to get any easier during 2012, I'm afraid. But first-time buyers are perhaps going to feature over the next month or two because at the end of the first quarter, of course, the first-time buyer stamp holiday finishes. So if you're thinking of buying a property as a first-time buyer, you're really going to have to get on with it very quickly if you want to avoid that stamp duty.